Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday, August 6th edition of the AAPI Gocast. I'm here, as always, your host, Scott, and with me is Bobby. Say hi, Bobby.
Hey, everyone.
I always want to say, do you think you can fly, Bobby? That's from RoboCop, sorry. And we also have a special guest, Malcolm.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
And Raphael.
Hello.
Let's get this show on the road. Hopefully we'll get some more audience here because this is Friday night at approximately 10:19 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 a.m. on the East Coast.
I think most people with lives are actually busy right now, but
yeah. Yeah, we are locked down again in California, mask requirement for all bars. So, we're basically just drinking at home here, which, that's always fun too. So should be an interesting podcast. Great. Well, I mean, I guess, the biggest elephant in the room is our event from 7:31. So before we get into what you've been shooting, that kind of dovetails into that. Because we shot a lot at our event up at Monarch Defense this last weekend. So just kind of wanted to go around the horn here with Malcolm and Bobby and Raphael and, just get your impressions of the event and what you enjoyed shooting most.
Let's see. I enjoyed the chance to shoot a good bit because I've been saving my ammo for a rainy day. Although prices are down if you are in a state where you can buy online, now is the time to buy ammo. I just found 9mm for 36 cents a round. But it was really good to get the chance to shoot at all, as well as I got to shoot a couple of really nice ARs that people brought, and one absolutely lovely AK. For those of you who aren't here, you can't see my profile picture, but it is a very stereotypical Russian with a very stereotypical AK, and that represents my personal views. Yeah. But it was really good just to get trigger time with some people who also enjoy getting trigger time.
Yeah, and I don't think I knew until this weekend that you were actually Russian, but you were not you were the European side, correct? So technically we can't count you towards the AAPI quota, right?
That's right. The part of Russia my family is from is the European side, not the Asian side.
Wah wah.
Bobby.
Right. Yeah, I think for me the part that I enjoyed most wasn't actually the shooting part. It was actually just meeting the people in the community who came out, and of course spending more time with Brian, and of course meeting everyone here in the podcast. I think I've been lucky to be able to shoot pretty consistently. So for me, it was more just meeting everyone and just being in the community.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and how, Malcolm? I mean, you joined us from the East Coast and flew all the way out there for the event. So yeah, kind of curious what your impressions were.
Yeah, it was well worth it. So much fun, getting to spend time with you guys and then meeting everyone that was able to show up. Kind of weird shooting those California compliant ARs, being from Texas and now living in Virginia. It's definitely not something I see around my neck of the woods, but it was a cool experience. And then it was fun being able to practice with the M&P shield since that's what I carry. So I was kind of bummed I couldn't bring anything to California. I mean, it wasn't worth it anyway, but I was able to actually practice with what I carry. So that was really cool. But ditto what Bobby said. It was just really, it never gets old being able to talk to, new gun owners and experienced gun owners and people who've never shot before. It's always really awesome to just, get their impression of how everything is. And it's always, in this kind of environment, always positive. So couldn't have asked for more.
At the event, I was walking some people through the AR platform and, just basic operation, what does what depress when stuff goes wrong, while you never use the forward assist, which is a silly button. But it was really cool to just explain to people, okay, so this feature is illegal, or if this feature was this way, it would be illegal, or this isn't illegal because of this, and just watch the cognitive dissonance happen, because obviously a lot of assault weapons bans make zero sense in terms of safety. This would be a felony, and that was just this would be a felony. Okay, so gun laws don't make sense. Cool.
Yeah, and I second, third everything that everyone else said on that. It was just great to be able to meet all the folks at the event, and especially the new shooters. And to your point, it was kind of interesting with walking people through what is and isn't compliant. I think somebody brought like a off-roster Glock Gen 5, and everybody loves shooting that thing. And then, on the California roster, we have Glock Gen 3s, which are, 20 years older and like much less features. There's no like front serrations and all this other stuff. Or really even understanding like why that was necessary. So I think that's kind of a good educational opportunity for a lot of people, because, it's easy to like vote for gun laws when you don't actually see what the reality is, or you're not exposed to them. Like a couple of years ago, a ballot measure passed where you have to show ID to buy ammo in the state of California. And it's like, okay, well, I guess maybe that makes sense on paper. But then if you're trying to buy a gun, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you actually are faced with that. Or, just dealing with all the weird requirements in the state and what you can and can't buy. So I think it was really eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, the training aspect of the event was also fantastic. Brian is an extremely competent instructor. It was fun to watch and also do the push-ups when somebody messed up. And I only got flagged like twice by newbies, which was actually a record low for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go into that there, because, I mean, I know that, Ryan has a bit of a fan club, and a lot of that seemed to be really exaggerated to me. So kind of curious, like, what your guys' impressions were of his training style.
Yeah, I think something that Brian kind of hits on the head is that there's kind of this like the nature of firearms is dangerous. So I mean, even in very quote unquote sterile environments, there's still chances of like negligent discharges. So I mean, like, I feel like safety, of course, gun safety should be like everyone should know gun safety, but like just the nature of what we're doing um, is generally less safe than, I don't know, taking a walk to the park. So I mean, if I think Brian definitely did everything that he could, and like the volunteers as well, to make sure that the environment was as safe as possible. Like there were chamber flags and all of the on all the rifles, and all of the handguns were always unloaded, and of course, like making sure that the unloading procedure, like everyone knows what that is, and that's done every time. But I mean, yeah, I think in terms of safety, like there were definitely times where I was like, oh, this. I guess like there are areas out I would say could be safer, I guess, but um, the thing is, it's like inherently firearms are dangerous, and if you train in a sterile environment, then when it's actually time to need it, then because your training was in a sterile environment, it doesn't actually prepare you for what's gonna happen if you really do need it in the real world.
Yeah, I would modify what you said just a little bit. Just because firearms aren't actually inherently dangerous. Firearms are dangerous when handled. They can be dangerous when handled. So I think that, just an important clarification.
For sure.
Because it's like the American Dad clip. Go on, gun, kill someone. You leave the gun on the table. It is inherently safe in that moment.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and I think it's just the nature of that event with so many people, attending, and we don't know most of them. There were definitely some concerns, some safety concerns before I showed up, but I think, yeah, definitely gotta give a shout out to Brian's team specifically. Like, they were very vigilant, and I didn't really there wasn't really a moment where I felt unsafe. So overall, I think they did a great job being able to, organize and, handle everything going on, because there was definitely a lot going on at some points. But overall, I think can't complain at all.
Yeah,
And,
I concur with that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Besides safety, we should talk about the event itself, which was absolutely fantastic, and a lot of people who listen to the podcast might not have, been there. And I mean, you should go over what like the day was like, and for those of us who were there the night before, what that was like, because it was, for me at least, it was a full day and a half of just nonstop go go go.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get your impressions of that for those of you that were able to be there the day ahead of time. They're like, I unfortunately couldn't because, as you might have heard earlier, bouncing around, I've got a kid and wife, so I couldn't exactly swing camping for 2 days, unfortunately. But I heard you guys were like doing a shit ton of work at the last minute getting structures up, and it was just like amazing to me, like hearing all of that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think Bobby and I were the only ones here who were there the night or the day before. I don't think we built any structures. We just built some, if I may say, very solid tables.
Yeah, and they didn't really take very long to build. We built,
Yeah.
I think, in total 4 of them. There was
I
one
think there
that,
were 5 total, or I think we built 4. Yeah, there were 5 total.
yeah, we
Oh,
built
wow.
4 of them. And I mean, I feel like the first one took a little bit, but then the rest we knocked out pretty fast.
Yeah. And
Wow. I had no idea that
also,
you guys built those tables, literally, because those were very sturdy. Like, I felt like that was very good craftsmanship, and like we were using them throughout the entire event just to, lay them out as like an impromptu firing range on the 360-degree range, as Brian likes to call it. So that's pretty impressive.
yeah, we didn't build the tall ones, just the short ones. And I think I also did some work with Brian on the bathroom door, which that's a whole story that we can go into, because that door took a lot of effort, and it was goddamn perfect.
I have to say that door was pretty goddamn perfect. I mean, that was like some major craftsmanship there. It's amazing because that entire system was like, I was expecting it to be like an outhouse, like an old timey, like Western outhouse with a hole in the ground. It's like, no, he like had a full on Delta toilet with plumbing running down to a septic tank in a wooden structure. I mean, that's like, kudos to Brian's dad. If you met him, he was like, came up from Florida and like helped backhoe the entire event, like build that entire structure. It was just like really, really impressive.
Yeah, and then I mean the team also, providing shade for everyone, hauling water up in the Humvee. A lot of stuff went into the work behind the scenes. So
Oh God,
if you were there and you appreciated it, toss their team a donation, because I mean seriously, those guys do great work.
I mean, I have to say because I had been to Brian's range previously, like a couple months ago, and they did not have that wonderful misting system that was in place, and that like made the entire difference of the day from being like unbearably hot to, a very pleasant experience.
Yeah, that was pretty much a lifesaver. I think it kind of saved me from sunburn. I didn't. I should have come home with a sunburn, but I didn't.
Oh yeah, like the last time I was up there, which was like beginning of June, I was basically a lobster by the end of it, but because of all the shade and the improvements, it was fine. I was like totally perfectly non-sunburned for a pasty person.
Yeah. And of course we got to meet some cool people. I really enjoyed meeting different community leaders. There were some different groups represented, and it was really cool to get some different non-AAPI or not insider perspectives on what we were doing.
Yeah.
And, it was good
Well,
to
I mean,
hear.
that was the coolest thing to me, because I mean, it's like, and I feel like the most attention was down on the range with Brian instructing, but we had several different modules going on. Like, he had one about, self-defense and hand-to-hand combat, and then also like, de-escalating situations and, different verbal commands, and a lot of good pros out there just like sharing their knowledge throughout like, all aspects of defense, which I thought was very, very cool.
Yeah, it was also there was also a long range rifle shooting class, and I believe there was one other class that I actually can't remember. But it was really cool to see all that happening, and then some folks even did some night shooting afterwards. I got to try nods for the first time. Wow, you can see in the dark, and it looks like daylight but black and white. absolutely incredible.
Oh man, I thought you took off after we all left, but you
no, I
stuck
took
around
off.
for the mission?
I took off around like 12:30, drove down the mountain, got a flat tire in the process, dropped my rental car at a gas station, and got an Uber to the airport.
Shit.
It was a whole adventure. Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Wow. Yeah. Like what is it about California roads and flat tires? Like I just got a flat tire yesterday.
I've never gotten a flat tire in New York.
Yeah,
only out
like
of state.
20 years of living in Oregon and Portland, and you would think the infrastructure up there was like, bad, but actually, Antifa hasn't destroyed it yet, so it's pretty good. And I've never got a flat tire my entire time living there, but moved down to LA, I've gotten like 4. And
yeah, Antifa doesn't have
2 in the Bay
cars.
Area.
They have their moms drive them, so they wouldn't get the
true.
flat tires. Yeah,
that is true. Fair. Well, great. Well, yeah. Any other impressions of the event before we move on to news and our regular agenda, Malcolm and Bobby?
No, nothing for me. I think we covered it all.
Yeah, no, it was good. It's a good time. I think the other 2 courses that they were offering was like hand-to-hand self-defense, and then the continuum of escalation.
right. Force escalation. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are very interesting.
They were like I know like Bobby and I were in the same like de-escalation of force class. I thought that was really cool. I mean, the instructor, I'm blanking on his name, but he did a really excellent job of like
Mike
walking me through.
Shanahan.
Was he the Wolfman?
Yeah, he's the Wolfman.
He was the Wolfman. Okay, got it. So yeah, we'll post the video of him shooting my Desert Eagle in a wolf outfit. But that was a treat. But he was great. I mean, honestly, he like walked you through just like everything from knives to tasers to I think he had like this. Oh boy, I forgot what it was, but it was like this flashlight that like emitted this like ear-piercing Lord of the Rings screech that would completely make you shit your pants in the right situation.
Yeah, rape alarm. Yeah.
And just different. Yeah, basically. I mean, it was. I mean, I think that could be like slightly effective for at least a couple of seconds, but it was cool because he like honestly walked you through the pros and cons of each scenario, and then he brought up a lot of the legal aspects that happen, where it's like especially in a state like California, you kind of have to sort of like think about how it's going to look to a jury. In a sense, God forbid if your home is ever invaded, just different things to think about. Where it's like, and he explained like the castle doctrine, where it's essentially it's like there's weird restrictions. Like if you leave your home unlocked, you probably shouldn't, go to a firearm as your first line of defense. But if your home doors are locked and someone breaks in, then California is actually fairly lenient.
Yeah, California has some pretty weak self-defense laws, as opposed to here where you have a duty to retreat outside of your home, but once you're in your house, if somebody's trying to break in, shoot them. That's like what the law basically says. It's like it is recommended that civilians turn to whatever means of self-defense they have necessary, or something along those lines.
Yeah, as an out-of-stater, it was really interesting watching him go through all those California laws and seeing how some of them were so different. But yeah, there definitely were some that are pretty consistent with the rest of the country. So really interesting overall.
For sure. And I know shout out to Mike Shanahan. I know he has his own training group outside of Monarch Defense. So if you ever want to look him up, just Google him and defense, and you should be able to find some of his class. Like he actually has he was mentioning several times that he has like a taser class coming up, and I might actually take that one because unfortunately CCW permits in California are almost non-existent in the county that Bobby and I live in. So taser might be a viable option there. Cool. Well,
yeah, tasers actually are illegal where I live, which
what
sucks a lot. Yep, they are illegal.
Like even the flashlight version?
Stun guns are legal. Tasers are not. So if it
that's the distinction.
if it projects prongs, and then that is a no.
Yeah, that's bizarre. It's like that was another thing that like Mike went over, which in California, pepper spray is legal as long as it's like a capsaicin-based formula, but tear gas is not. So there's a lot of different options on the modder kit that are actually not fully compliant or legal within the state. So, like for example, the Kimber Pepper Blaster, I think you brought up, that's pretty common solution that a lot of people like. It's just a blast of pepper spray. Not legal in the state of California. But just different pepper blast ones are totally fine.
Yeah. All right. I feel like we should
on to news.
Jump into news. Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually found an article that's not quite news. This is actually from 2015. But it spoke to me a little bit, and I thought that it would be worth sharing, just as something to take something to take to heart. And it's just pretty simply labeled, "There's a way to stop mass shootings, and you won't like it."
Oh yeah, you posted that in the chat earlier.
That's right.
I read that entire thing. That was
It's
actually
excellent.
great.
I can summarize, but I'll see if I can get a link to Scott to put in the show notes. But it's notice those around you who seem isolated and engage them. There's one thing that we know about almost all mass shooters, and that's that they're social outcasts who, for whatever reason or another, have decided to lash out. Banning guns will not prevent that. Trying to decrease access to guns will not prevent that. This is America. That's pretty much impossible. The only way is for, people to do things. The government can't fix this. And I think that's probably the best way we can actually work to prevent mass shootings. If you see somebody in a setting where they are often and they engage with the setting, but they aren't engaged with the people there, try to engage them. And if people had done that before, we could have saved a lot of lives. So yeah, that's the summary of the article. It's quite serious, but it's a very good, strong argument for what we can do instead of making some really dumb gun laws to try to keep mass shootings from happening.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there too. I mean, I love the article, but I'm just kind of struck by, if you ever saw Bowling for Columbine. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Michael Moore, but I remember they interviewed Marilyn Manson about the Columbine shooters at one point, and he said something to the effect of nobody ever listened to the shooters. They never asked them hey, how's your day going? Or ask them, hey, what's bothering you? The entire school system kind of failed them in a sense. And I just remember that just really stuck with me from that documentary, because you're right. I mean, if you see some sort of a disturbed kid in your high school, people ignore them. They don't talk to them. They don't engage with them. It makes the problem worse. Whereas if somebody just tapped him on the shoulder one time and said, hey, how's your day going? Maybe that would be the difference.
Yeah, it's kind of like a vicious cycle if you think about it, because other kids don't want it to reach out or extend, an olive branch to that kid, because then they don't want to be lumped in to being associated with the weird kid or something. So, but in reality, I feel like that's actually doesn't really happen that often, and it outcomes can actually be better by trying to include people or trying to be friends with everyone. But yeah, I think just that negative connotation of being associated with the weird kid just drives other kids away. It's really sad.
Yeah, and I think everyone can to some degree relate to being made to feel like an outsider. And if you take that feeling and scale it up, I'm not saying anything makes sense, but you can kind of get a picture of what might have happened. And so I just thought that was interesting. Let's hit the actual news, because there is some really good stuff this week.
There is some juicy stuff indeed. Starting out with the ACLU, which apparently labeled the Second Amendment racist. Some interesting reactions from that. Colin Noir weighed in on it. But essentially the quote was from him: "Racism is foundational to the Second Amendment and its inclusion in the Bill of Rights," said the ACLU. That was just that was kind of surprising considering, gun control is completely racist when you look at the Milford Act in California. That was Ronald Reagan and against the Black Panthers with the NRA to, essentially ban open carry in the state. So I thought that was kind of hypocritical and sort of tells you the direction where the ACLU is going. They're just kind of more of a left-wing tool at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can argue that historically the Second Amendment has been applied or enforced unequally and deprived, and that unequal enforcement led to racist outcomes. I think that's probably the most fair way to put it. But the Second Amendment itself, I mean, yeah, I think the phrase used is "the people," which doesn't really specify anything other than, human beings who are alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really funny because I'm sure Colin Noir already touched on this video yet of his response, but I guess all of us, minorities and people of color who are exercising our Second Amendment, especially in the past year, potentially thousands or hundreds of thousands of us are doing it. I guess, are we all racist now too?
Yeah, call the millions of minorities who bought guns, over the past year racist. That's just, the obvious go-to here.
Yeah, we're all racist. We're all canceled.
That's
it.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember it was something like 45% of all new gun sales, according to the NSSF, were to minorities over the course of 2020 through 2021. So
that statistic makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next news article. Speaking of racism, it seems like it's a popular topic this week. David Chipman, everyone's favorite child murderer and all-around awesome human being. It seems that he made a lot of or made racist statements about ATF applicants.
Yeah, I think the quote was basically after the result of a test, Chipman said, "Wow, there were an unusually large amount of African Americans that passed the exam this time. They must have been cheating." And that was corroborated by several ATF officials, according to the Reload. So the sequence of events is kind of interesting here. Number one, the Reload broke the story. Gun rights groups from Newtown to Brady to Moms Demand Action, our favorite mom organization, all freaked out. Essentially, it led to Mitch McConnell calling for Biden to withdraw the nomination. Chuck Grassley also called for a second hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and it culminated with Dick Durbin, the Judiciary Committee chairman, denying the second hearing. So seems like the hornet's nest was effectively kicked here.
Well, it's also been recently uncovered that he also made an appearance on CCP television, which was fascinating to me.
Good old CCTV 9. That's
yes.
I don't know if you're old enough to remember CCTV 9, Bobby, when you were there, but when I was there, it was really funny because they would just hire these random washed up journalists from other countries to be the English white face of the news on that network. So I remember just watching that all the time and just laughing my ass off because it was you think Fox News or MSNBC or propaganda. That was just pure propaganda from people who just, I loved watching that channel when I was there. And I think it's on cable or satellite TV in the United States too. But it's just pure pro PC, CCP stuff. And it's a fun channel though. if you happen to get it on your cable package.
Yeah, so more on Chipman, actually. So the Reload also had a story a couple days ago. 7 former agents, ATF agents, also who all served at the same time as David Chipman. Each of them had 25 or more years of experience. They wrote a letter to the Judiciary Committee urging to vote against Chipman. And they argued from personal experience that he did not have the experience or temperament to lead the agency and that his appointment would degrade ATF's ability to do its job. Now, on the surface, that might sound like a good thing, but we don't want the ATF run by a partisan. And that was essentially what they were arguing. We don't need somebody who's obviously pro-gun control running the ATF, or we're going to get shot more. And so they all signed their names to it and raised some concerns about his leadership style and his attitude, which it turns out is rather immature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, on the flip side, it's like, you think about it, it's like you don't want activists in positions of power within the cabinet, but it's like, would you really want someone from the Jonesboro Baptist Church running the Department of Health and Human Services if the tables were turned? I don't think so.
Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you can like just watching some of the hearings done by some of these like secretaries and of these agencies. I feel like that's already long gone. But anyway, about Chipman, like I think earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday. I just got a phone notification from one of those left-wing media outlets just saying, gun control groups are demanding the Biden administration do more to get Chipman nominated. And I thought that was just hysterical. Like even the Biden administration started to get antsy about this dude.
Yeah, that's the
'cause he's so
problem with
terrible.
ATF agents is a lot of them have been around since Waco, which means a lot of them have something of a sketchy history, which means the Oppo research is basically already done for them. So besides his ties to Waco, which was obviously just a slaughter of American civilians, there's a pile of Oppo research already done. I don't think any Democratic president is going to have an easy time appointing an ATF director.
Yeah. I think there was also a story that broke on Chipman losing his service pistol multiple times while he was out in the field. I don't know if I can corroborate that, but that is also really funny.
Yeah,
I saw
so
that.
there are reports of it. I did a little bit more research. So none of them have been disproven. They came from multiple different sources, but there is also it's not on record or anything. So it's currently kind of up in the air as to whether or not it happened. But considering that multiple people reported that it did happen from different sources, I'm leaning towards maybe this guy did pull an FBI agent and do a backflip in a bar and drop his gun.
Is he the Will Ferrell of the other guys for the ATF? We'll have to find out.
That's just a very low blow to Will Ferrell, so I'm not going to go there. Yeah, so that's another Chipman piece of news. But overall, so far so good. It looks like this guy's getting absolutely hammered.
I mean, it also wouldn't be the first time he lost a firearm to cartels in Mexico potentially. So who knows? Maybe he has sold his duty pistol off roster to California, which is oddly legal if you're a police or government law enforcement official.
Are you talking about something related to Fast 9, that great
Fast
movie that
and
came out
Furious?
recently? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would like to see some more conversation about that in his second hearing, which I really hope he gets.
Well, I mean, do you really hope he gets a second hearing, or they just drop the nomination? I don't know.
No, I want him to have a second hearing because now that more Oppo research has been, actually done, I'd like to just watch him squirm.
Plus, it's an opportunity to just pure Ted Cruz grandstand, which, like him or like hate him, I just enjoy watching him speak because he's so over the top.
Ted Cruz cut his teeth arguing cases before the Supreme Court. This is like a vacation for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not in Cancun, obviously.
Right. And no green eggs and ham this time.
Pretty sure Chipman has a VIP reservation in Biden's basement after those terrible hearings.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else we have in the news.
Yep.
This week.
Massachusetts looks like they're trying to enact a semi-auto firearms ban. Who knows where that'll go, but modeling California, apparently.
No, it's worse. So I also read the text of the bill that they were attempting to pass. So it's essentially they're trying to add an amendment to the existing assault weapons ban, which is very similar in form and function to California's or New York's. So the same guns are generally compliant. But instead of defining assault weapon, I'm using air quotes, by the normal definition, they instead say this shall be stricken and replaced with any semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, or pistol. So essentially, they are trying to ban all semi-automatic guns in Massachusetts, no exceptions.
Holy shit, that's bad.
Yeah, so that includes all pistols. It's already hard to get a CCW there, but it would essentially become impossible because, I mean, what are you going to conceal carry? A flintlock? Yeah, but that's very serious and not good. And I almost hope it passes just so the courts have a chance to just add one more thing to the list of precedents that you can't do. But on the other hand, the fact that somebody is actually trying to do this is disgusting.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous because, I mean, it's like, what is there left? Literally, there'd be revolvers and
double action revolvers, lever action and bolt action rifles, and pump action shotguns. That's what spring to mind. So if you hunt, which is obviously what the Second Amendment is for, you're safe.
Right. Yes, yeah. Over under shotguns, coach guns, totally fine. But that nice Benelli or Beretta 1301, not so much.
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically a ban on all fun.
Yeah. Good God. Oh well. Yeah. I mean, hopefully that doesn't pass. But again, I mean, I'm kind of with you in a sense where, like, I just hope other states go as extreme as California, so the Supreme Court, in its current makeup, has a chance to rule on it and strike it down. Very optimistic about our, assault weapons ban, which has already been struck down, but hopefully that gets appealed up to the Supreme Court because that could set nationwide precedent.
I would very much appreciate having 30-round mags up here.
So you can have 30-round mags on a rifle in New York?
No, I would appreciate being able to, though, because if it gets struck down in California,
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see what else we
have.
What else do we have? Ted Nugent resigned from the NRA board, so I guess Cat Scratch Fever is no longer going to be played at NRA convention.
That's an interesting one. I think that might kind of be a miss for our audience, but I mean, for me, that's interesting.
Yep. I don't know. Yep. Ted Nugent, interesting guy. Let's see. Moving on here then. Alarming number of police officers are calling it quits and retiring early nationwide. According to one group called the Police Executive Research Forum, the number is as high as 45% in the last year alone, and retirements are up by 18%. Wonder why.
Well, I think retirements makes a lot of sense. It's pretty much this is not a great environment to be a cop, and if you've got your pension, might as well chill for a bit. But resignations,
I mean, you have to
being
watch
that
out
high
for the last day, though, because if Denny Glover taught me anything, you're sort of, I'm one day away from retirement, Riggs.
Yeah, it tends to be what happens.
Yep. I mean, I guess they're just getting too old for this shit.
Essentially, be paid more to just be unemployed too. So that's kind of too good to pass on that.
Yeah, maybe we're seeing the perfect storm that's just causing cops to just leave.
Yep. Diplomatic immunity.
Something like that.
All right. No one got my lethal weapon references, so I'm just gonna, chalk that up to me being old. All right. Next one. Let's see. Mexico is suing major U.S. gun manufacturers over arms trafficking.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. That's international court cases are weird. That's not really going to affect the gun industry here, most likely. Yeah, so this has happened. Things like this have happened before. Like other countries have sued U.S. manufacturers over car accidents happening. Generally, it's almost always settled out of court, just because international lawsuits are incredibly difficult to resolve. So it usually just takes the lowest common denominator. It's probably just gonna be settled for essentially a token fee and not go anywhere. If it doesn't, though, this could be very interesting to watch. But it's not really a matter of our rights here. It's just Mexico probably trying to squeeze some money.
I mean, are we going to countersue them for trafficking drugs into our country? I mean, this is not never going to end, right?
I mean, maybe the settlement is just David Chipman sends some more free guns.
Listen, okay, let's consider this already settled. Basically, time served, but for a lawsuit, because you gave us, I think we exchanged even amounts of destructive devices here.
Fair enough. All right.
And then,
well, the last two stories are more about just, uses of firearms and self-defense. I was personally happy to see that the rapper Lil Durk apparently had a home invasion and engaged in a shootout in his own home. And also there was one right here in the Bay Area where a homeowner was, able to successfully fend off about 3 different attackers who were vandalizing vehicles, and then decided to go into his home in Pleasant Hill and successfully fended off, attack from 3 different people. So, kudos to that happening in the Bay Area. Hopefully Chesa Bowden doesn't prosecute the innocent homeowner in lieu of the actual attackers, but that was good to see.
Yeah, and if this is something you're worried about happening to you, I'm not going to name drop any because I'd rather they pay us for that. But there are organizations that will essentially act as an insurance fund for you. They'll give you some legal training on your state and what to do if you use a weapon in self-defense, the rules about what you can and cannot do, and then they'll also pay for a lawyer. They keep them on retainer for your case in case you do have an annoying prosecutor who decides that people shouldn't have the right to defend themselves. So things like that are really useful. And if you're in a situation where you're worried about that happening, I'd say it's probably a good investment because the legal fees, if you have a nasty prosecutor, are not fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're in Virginia where nobody cares.
I mean, does anyone care, Malcolm?
I think very specific people in Northern Virginia do.
Yeah, Malcolm, sometime when we're off air, I have a story for you about a Virginia local cop, a Mustang, and some guns that you might find interesting.
Yeah, fill me in after this.
Yeah, I will. All right. Not as busy of a week as I'd hoped. And I think we're all still, to some extent, recovering. I have a full 3 time zones that I'm still catching up with.
Yeah, I don't envy you, but like next time, Bobby and I, if we do an East Coast event, we'll sort of more than make up for it. So that'll be fun. Okay, great. Well, I guess that's about it because we don't really have any audience for this week, so we can't really do audience Q&A unless you wanted to, run your pick for Weird Gun of the Week. I'm gonna nominate the Desert Eagle because it's not a weird gun, but I just want to hear your impression.
No.
I know you shot it, and I know that Malcolm shot it, and I know I shot it, and it was awesome.
It absolutely is a weird gun. Who in God's green earth would actually make that thing? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed shooting the 50 AE in that. It was like roughly 250 a round, but I didn't really care because so many people wanted to just like shoot it, and I was like happy to share the love, and so went through like $40 of ammo within the span of 10 minutes. But it was just so much fun to shoot that thing, especially the zombie target that was set up. That was cool to just see that thing kind of gush out. Highly recommended though. I sort of felt like it was like a mortar shell in the dirt too. Like I kind of wanted to go check that out because every time you hit something, it was just like a gigantic plume of dirt.
Yeah, I think we should probably. Or go ahead, Malcolm.
No, I was just saying, it's like it really makes you feel like a drug dealer or like a warlord shooting that thing. But the recoil isn't as bad as it looks. Like you watch footage of it and it looks like it's kicking up so much, but how it actually feels in your hands is not as bad as I thought. It was more manageable. It didn't actually hurt.
Yeah, it's a heavy gun. So I mean, if it was like out of a polymer frame or something, I can imagine that kicking really bad. But I was really it handled well. I would be, if it fit on my skinny frame, I would be happy to conceal carry one of those things because it's I don't think you need more than 1 or 2 shots. The boomerism about stopping power really does come true.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even have to shoot. You just brandish that thing, and people will just run away.
It's like, hello, I have a gun the size of my head.
Yeah, I think it basically weighs as much as a newborn infant.
It's not quite 7 pounds, I don't think. Yeah, but for those it's 3.9. So for people who aren't familiar, the Desert Eagle is a big fat handgun, somewhat styled after the 1911, hammer fired, magazine fed, and it comes in a variety of rounds, generally bigger ones. So 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum, 440 Corbon, 41 Magnum, other weird things, and 50 Action Express, which is a 50 caliber pistol round. It's not 50 BMG, but it's fat, and it's a gas operated rotating bolt. It does not have a rotating or a tilting barrel, just because the mechanics on that would be absurd. But what it is one hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, the 50 AU rounds are so large. I feel like you could literally go David and Goliath with a spring and just hurl that at someone's head and kill them. It's a very fat, very heavy round. Whole lot of fun though.
Yeah,
and the blowback was the interesting part because it's every time you shot that thing, there was this sonic boom. Anybody who was in within 3 feet, you could totally feel that.
No, standing next to you when you fired it basically combed my hair. It was great.
Yeah, that was the funnest part of it, honestly. So I guess question for the audience, if you ever want to email in, I'm debating on if I should send it in to get it silver titanium nitrated or gold with tiger stripes. So, feel free to email us at info@AAPIGO.net. And, I'll do whatever the consensus is, but I'm kind of leaning towards silver at this point after playing Resident Evil 2, the remake, and, God, I forgot what it's called. It's it's some weird acronym, but there's basically a Desert Eagle in there, and it has, it was the Lightning Hawk, I think is what it was called in the game.
Poll on Discord. See what people will vote on.
Pretty much anywhere. And if you have a weird color that you want Scott to get it painted in, and you leave some comments, we'll think about it. We'll bully Scott into doing whatever's funniest, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if it's a chrome pink, that would be fine too.
I think a hot pink Deagle would be a statement. Let's put it that way.
I want it to be chrome though, not just standard pink.
Oh no, matte. A matte, brushed, maybe almost a burnt pink. I think that could be a really cool gun. And hey, we can lend it out, and the pink pistols can have a new mascot.
That's very true. Also, shout out to Nikki who attended from Pink Pistols at the event. It was really great to meet them.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is the sleepiest podcast we've ever done. It's pretty late.
It really is. I feel like we sound like Eeyore the entire time. Okay, sorry for bothering you. All right. Well, yeah, let's there's nobody in the chat, so that's it for this week. Thanks everyone for witnessing this very sleepy 11 p.m. time podcast. We will be back in a week week and a half from now, and we'll probably have a bonus episode next week, so be on the lookout for that. But for now, this is the AAPI Gocast signing off.
We promise to be caffeinated next time.